on some big bucks today. I'll get on the track, big buck, and lay one down today. It's a big 10-4.
Welcome to another episode of the Adirondack Bucks and Beyond podcast. This podcast is sponsored by Stagger Gear. If you haven't yet, make sure you head on over to the Stagger Gear website where you'll find everything from their wool tracker jacket, their Apex Merino base layers, and even their 100% rag wool gloves and much more. Everything you need to keep you dry, warm, and comfortable for a long day's adventure in the woods. Be sure to enter our promo code ABB with any purchase made on the Stagger Gear website to get 10% off your order. That's promo code ABB for 10% off your order, all at www.staggergear.com. All right, guys, welcome back to the Adirondack Bucks and Beyond podcast. This is take number 2 because I just tried starting this and I never hit the record. So we're going to start all over again. But this is going to be a little bit different style podcast. It's going to be like a short form podcast because Cori has a story to tell that I have not heard yet, and I'm really excited to hear. And we're going to share it with you guys as well while I'm hearing it. So,
like I said before.
Are both your ears working?
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds like only one of mine is. Whatever, go ahead.
I'll preface it with, guys, particularly in like Maine and New Hampshire, it's probably not as crazy to you as it is to us, but we just don't have a lot of experience with this kind of stuff. But needless to say, I've gotten 4 to 5 days in the last few weeks to finally get out and do some scouting. I've been busy all summer, so I haven't really had a chance to. My one ear's not working now.
Try it now. How about now?
Yep.
Now it's working, right?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
So I was going back into a spot we're pretty familiar with, but as far as a portion of it, but I wanted to dive a little bit deeper into it, and I was going to full send. I was going way in. My plan was to be, 3.5, 4 miles from the truck. So it's a wilderness system. It's a little bit different than some of the other stuff that we hunt, but I went back in, and the hiking trail is like 2.5 miles long. So I took that hiking trail all the way back to where it meets this body of water. And when you meet the body of water, you have two choices. You can either hunt back towards the truck, scout back towards the truck in this case. You can go left, you can go right, and get behind the body of water. And what I've always done is I've always gone left and hunted behind the body of water. And actually back in, I think it was 2020 or 2021, I shot into a giant up there. I never recovered him, unfortunately, but it was a giant. So I know the area holds good deer, and I was really excited to get back here and scout. So I went to the left, I started scouting along, and almost immediately, and this happens every time, when I got off the hiking trail, there's moose shit everywhere.
Yeah, and you said it was fresh.
Very fresh. Yeah. Very fresh. It's everywhere. Tracks. I found a wallow, like a moose wallow. Where it's
really?
In the mud along one.
Like they've been using it a lot?
There's a lot of tracks in it, yeah. And so anyways, I go across this drainage that comes out of this body of water, and I get up on the backside of this body of water, and there's two mountains. There's like the smaller mountain to the left and the bigger mountain to the right. So I checked the smaller mountain, and there wasn't anything to really write home about, at least that I saw this time of year. So I said, I want to really get into the steep stuff that's over on that bigger mountain. So I cross a little saddle that connects the two, and I get over there, and when I first get to that bigger mountain, again, mind you, I'm seeing moose sign the entire time. Again, tracks, shit, old rubs, fresh stuff, old stuff. It's all over the place. I know there's a lot of moose in there, but I've never ran into one. Right. And honestly, it's just not a common thing for guys in the Adirondacks. Guys will get trail cam pictures. Some guys will run into them if they're fortunate.
You don't hear a lot of people running into them. You ran into them before, though, too.
I did. That's another story. But basically what had happened is I start coming through the nice hardwoods on the backside of this mountain, and there's like a definitive line where it starts meeting the cliffs. And I love to go up into the cliffs. I always know there's going to be something worthwhile up in there. So I said, I'm going to get to those, and I'm going to start climbing. So I get to the cliffs, and just as there's like a little bench, micro bench, right before I start climbing, and right as I get onto that little micro bench, I heard what I thought were a few deer jump out of their bed. It sounded like a couple deer scattering. So I stopped, and I'm looking around. I'm like, where are they? Where are they? And then I hear doof, 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 heavy, consistent pounding. And then I realize that's not two deer. And this is all happening super quick. And then, so mind you, too, I thought it was to my left or right. I didn't realize the noise was coming from directly behind me. So I spin, and all in like a split second when I spin around, here's this gigantic, and I'm not a moose guy. I don't know moose that well.
It was a bull?
It was a bull. And all I can tell you is it looked like something from the cover of Alaska Bow Hunter magazine. This thing was what I would
Like bigger than my.
It was bigger than the paddle you have there, on each side.
Yeah, so whoever was at Hunt Stock and saw that paddle, we're talking bigger than that.
I mean, this thing was gigantic. It looked like a brown school bus coming through the woods.
And he's coming right at you.
So he's coming from the bottom, and he's coming right up at me. But, obviously in the moment, I'm not trying to determine whether he's aggressive or not. All I see is that there is this gigantic animal, and there's gigantic moose, and he's coming directly at me. And he's coming up the path that I had just walked, coming from that lower hardwood section up to this cliff area. So I'll be honest with you, I was scared shitless. The first thing that I did is I start running. I start running as fast as I can up. But I only went like 10 steps, and I thought to myself, like, okay, this probably isn't a good idea. So I stop, and I turn around, and instinctively I'm like, hey! And as soon as I do that, that thing puts on the brakes. He stops for like a half a second, and then he spins around, and boom, he's out of there like a bullet out of a gun. It's like I just touched him with a lightning rod. He takes off. So now I'm like, oh my God, I got to get my phone. So I'm fiddling for my phone, trying to get it out of my pocket, and I'm watching him go down through the hardwoods, and there's a birch tree. And I went down and looked at it after. It was dead and rotted, so it was really soft. But still, this was crazy. The birch tree was probably this big around, and it was down over this like little tiny gully. And it was probably, I don't know, waist to belly button high on me. And the best way I can describe it is he ran through that thing like he was running across a Canadian border and just blew it into pieces. Just bang! I hear this nasty crash, and I just see, that was the last thing I saw, him go through that, and boom, and he's out of there. I cannot stress how big this thing was.
How close was he to
40 yards. 40 yards coming up the hill.
But he wasn't going to charge you or anything?
So I don't think he was being aggressive. I think what had happened is I was in a pretty remote spot. I mean, yes, there's a hiking trail within like a mile and a half of where I was, but it's on the opposite side of the body of water. And this isn't a destination hiking area where people go and paddle or do anything like that. Has he probably seen or heard a human? Yes. But does he, at this time of year, see or hear humans back where he was? I highly doubt it. I doubt that.
It was just him, too?
Just him. There was no other moose. I'm thinking because I was making a lot of noise. I'm in there scouting. I'm looking for deer sign. I'm not really taking my time or being quiet or anything. I'm sure he heard me and was just caught off guard. He was probably like, what in the world is this? Like,
all I could picture when you say it is just one of those giant, like those big swooped up.
It was just, he was so unbelievably wide. I can't believe he was running through the woods he was. Honestly. Like, I don't know, because it's like all beech trees that are pretty packed tight together. I'm like, how does he get through on a daily basis without, busting an antler or something? This thing was just, again, I'm not a moose guy, and, there's probably way bigger out there, but I'm telling you, this might be the biggest bull I ever see in my life. This thing was, and I didn't have a camera. That's the worst part. I didn't have a camera. I got my phone out, and I think maybe when the video starts, you can hear him crashing a little bit, but there's nothing on it.
Yeah, we gotta just start bringing GoPros with us every time we go.
It was so wild. His track was like like that big. It was so crazy how big he was. So crazy. He was in a spot that would make sense that a moose would be in. He was like right on the hardwood, I assume anyways, right on the hardwood transition where it meets the edge of this pond, which is all just like thick spruce hemlock fir cover with browse everywhere, like that moose hobble stuff. Like,
yeah.
And so I was shaken up because I'm like, I've never had that happen, and that's a big animal, regardless of his intentions coming at you.
Especially if he was pissed.
I definitely scared the hell out of him. When I yelled at him, he wanted nothing. He turned around so quick. He put on the brakes and like skid as he's going up the hill, and bang, took off like a bullet out of a gun. And then it was like a sigh of relief, and so at that point, I'm thinking to myself, okay, what do I do now? I was shaking. Like, I was shaken up. And the problem was my intentions were to go up on this steep mountain, and then the easiest way, or at least the way I knew that I wanted to go out, was the way that he ran. He ran right back on my back trail, essentially. And would I have had an issue if I went out that way? Probably not. But I'll be honest, I was rattled enough that I'm like, I'm going the opposite way. I'm going the other way. So it took me a long time to get out of there. This place is nasty and gnarly. I mean, I ended up finding some really good stuff, and I jumped a really good buck, which, I don't know, the Lord was looking over me there. But it was a crazy day. It was a good day. It was a crazy day, but definitely an experience that.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't say that I wouldn't mind running into him again. I just don't want it to be under those circumstances, especially when I'm that caught off guard.
You don't have anything.
I didn't have a gun or anything.
Yeah,
I had two walking sticks.
I don't know. I put up a post on our story here not that long ago. I ran into a bear just in farm country, and it's like, we just need to start carrying guns.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even.
Yeah, nature. Yeah. I mean, nature will take its own course, and it can be brutal. Definitely got to protect yourself.
Wow. Well, that could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, it could have been a lot worse than it was, but it was cool nonetheless.
Yeah, these Maine guys and New Hampshire guys.
Yeah, they're probably like, oh, that happens to us every time we're in the woods. But that doesn't happen to us. The only other time I've ran into one, I had a rifle in my hands, and it was a smaller bull. I mean, it wasn't a giant. It was a good enough bull to be able to.
I wish you had a video of it.
Yeah, the other one was up near our camp, and that's an area that's just known for having a lot of moose up there, and they were right off the hiking trail, and I don't know if they were trying to cross not the hiking trail, the logging road. I think they were trying to cross the logging road, and it was just like a matter of timing. We kind of ran.
That wasn't a bull, though, was it?
Yeah, it was a bull and a cow.
But
together.
a little bull.
Little bull. Yeah, this one though. Whew. Wow. And afterwards, I was thinking about that paddle that you found, and I'm like,
dwarf set.
That thing would eat up that paddle. And that's a big paddle that you have.
Yeah, I'll grab it. It's right here. For anyone who hasn't seen it, right? Isn't it right here? Hang on,
it might be upstairs. Yep.
Yeah, for reference, that's the paddle that I have.
So, looking at that, I would say, and I don't know, I would say the depth of the paddle was probably similar. He definitely was a little bit deeper, but the width, I mean, he was like out here.
Did he have one of those giant?
He had a giant waddle.
Is that what it is on a moose? A waddle?
That's what I call him. It looks like a turkey waddle, but obviously
that's all I can picture is just his big head staring at you with that giant waddle.
Oh my god! And he was running like a horse. He was like galloping, honestly, when he was coming up the hill. He was like, dun, 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 dun. And that's why I don't think he was being aggressive. I think it was general curiosity. Yeah. I really do. And
that he was walking towards you. You think?
Yeah, that he was coming towards me.
Did he know you were there at that time though?
No, he didn't know what. I think he heard something, came up from by the pond or whatever.
Oh, like up to look, and he popped right up 40 yards away.
Yeah, he must have been, I assume, laying down right below where I had walked, and that's when he heard me. And he got up and was probably like, what the heck is that? And then came, waddle swinging back and forth. Big, oh my God. Big.
How many are up there?
Well, so then I'm like, okay, I'm not going down the way that I wanted to go, which is unfortunate because I found an awesome scrape I wanted to hang a camera on, but I didn't, and I'm kicking myself in the ass for it. So
go back in there.
So anyways, I'm like, well, I know if I get up in these cliffs, I'll be fine. Well, boy, did I think wrong. I get up through some really steep stuff. I mean, like, straight grade like that. And, I'm seeing deer sign, which I figured I would. And then I hit the first little flat area. And it wasn't even flat. It was just flatter than the rest. And it's like a nasty southwest-facing blowdown area. And it's all moose sign. Every bit of it. And it was still pretty steep. I'm like, how do they get up into this stuff?
Do you think they're just coming up over the top and dropping right down? They can't be climbing up that shit, right?
I have no idea, because then I was finding, like, on the cliffs, moose shit. I have no idea. I don't know. It's really bizarre. But that mountain was predominantly moose. Also, a lot of big buck sign up there, though. I found some really slamming signpost rubs right on top. Nonetheless, it was really weird.
The very top of the mountain?
Very top, but the very top of the mountain, and this is something else that's really cool. I've never seen it. It was like an old field. It was almost like what I would describe as an old field habitat. It was open canopy, sparsely populated with trees. Different tree species than anywhere else in there, though. I don't know what they were. It wasn't beech. It wasn't maple. It was other stuff. And it was open with knee to hip high browse across the entire top.
I wonder if it's because of all the rain we got, or is it just because there's so exposed sunlight up there?
There's so much sunlight up there. It's open. I mean, open. Like you
just
can
no
look
trees
up.
have ever grown there.
There are trees, but
yeah,
they're
but I'm
very
just
sparse.
saying, like sparse. Like why? Why do you think that?
I have no idea, but there were raspberries, blackberries, witch hazel. I mean, there was browse all over, and I'm not good with the browse species, but there was a lot of browse species. There was lines of browse from both the moose and the deer everywhere.
That's probably why I jumped them there.
And there was beds. There were moose beds everywhere through there. There were just moose beds. There's deer beds mixed in. I found an awesome community scrape up there. It's a cool area. Really, really cool. So, needless to say, that was my experience yesterday. That was a heart-pounding one. I haven't been that worked up in the woods in a while.
Yeah, and we'll be looking out for moose up there from here on out.
Yeah.
But all right, guys. Well, that's Cori's moose encounter story. We'll end it there. We have hopefully by this point you guys have heard or maybe I don't know when I'm releasing them, but we have a bunch of podcasts we have to release that I haven't yet. So stay on the lookout for that. We have some cool announcements coming up soon. So also be on the lookout for that as well. As always, go give us a like and follow on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all under Adirondack Bucks and Beyond, and we'll catch you next time.